Welcome to the WoW podcast, where we bring you inspiring stories and insights from our university community. Tune in for conversations about growth, success, and the power of communication in the academic world. So get ready to soar with us on the wings of wisdom.
Hello, everyone. I'm David Carl, Director of the Writing and Communication Center, and joining me today is our Associate Director, Dr. Andrew Roble, and Communications Coach, Sasha Bibik. In today's episode of Wings of Wisdom, we have the privilege of welcoming Elise Riggle. She's a multifaceted higher education leader whose career embodies innovation, service, and transformative program development. Elise currently serves as the Executive Director of Non-Traditional Learning at Ashland University, where she oversees efforts to elevate online and hybrid learning, faculty development, and institutional strategy. Her professional journey spans over 2 decades and includes a 15-year stint at Ohio State University, where she worked in student affairs. For over 8 years, she's been back at Ashland, her alma mater, and has worked extensively with project management, faculty engagement, instructional design, and the creation of large-scale academic initiatives, including the expansion into correctional education and campus-wide health policy coordination during COVID-19. Her career reflects an abiding commitment to enhancing workflow efficiency, supporting faculty success, and championing initiatives that strengthen teaching and learning across the university. She is passionate about promoting our accent on the individual motto and ensuring faculty are well equipped to best serve, our students. So join us today as we delve into Elise's insights on leadership, innovation, and the future of higher education at Ashland University. So Elise, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. I'm overwhelmed by that introduction.
That's great. Great having you.
Makes me sound old, I think.
Oh, well, yeah. Join the club, right? You have held leadership roles in so many different areas, student engagement, developmental disability services, correctional education, university health response, and now faculty development and instructional design. So can you share how your diverse professional experiences have shaped your leadership philosophy?
Sure. So I think relationships are the most important thing. You can catch more flies with honey, right? I think that one of the things that I have tried to do, especially in the second half of my career, so in the last 12 to 13 years, is to start with relationships first. When I was a young, just out of graduate school, student affairs professional, I went into a place that I had to create the student life experience. And I feel like looking back, I did that with a wrecking ball and a steamroller. And now, as I've gone through life and have done things and learned things, I try to be much more synergistic and collaborative while trying to accomplish whatever that goal is. And so part of that is admitting, like, I don't know what's going on. Like when I took over for COVID, nobody really knew no one knew what was going on. And so it's just like constantly learning and asking questions and having these meetings so everybody had their bits and pieces of expertise to share and then figuring it out. So it's a lot of like stopping, realizing that you're not the smartest person in the room and you don't know everything, but then also getting in the trenches and learning the job and learning the policies that should be shaping the job, but overall extending grace and caring about one another.
Yeah, great. We were looking at your resume, your lengthy resume, and it highlights your strengths in strategic planning and systems thinking and efficiency. So how did these capabilities develop, as your career has progressed?
So it's funny. The older I get, the more I realize that the things that my dad taught me as a kid are so ingrained in me that it's become the work I do. One of my dad's favorite expressions when I was a kid and still today, he says, fail to plan, plan to fail. And so I've always kind of been a planner, and I've always tried to, like, I'm always focused on the details because I feel like, that helps with efficiency. And it's helped me in my roles because I can see where we're wasting time or energy, or for some reason, it just seems to be a gift that I have to help with strategy and with systems. I think it also helps. I have a special needs son who thrives with like systems and schedules and consistency. And so it's just,
Structure.
it's been structure. And it's always how I've been since I was a kid until this morning. Right now, like I have a system. This is my system. Stick to the system. Unless you see something that can make your system better, then change your system and then go with that too. So I'm a weird blend of like, I need things a certain way, but I also I've been given the wisdom somehow to recognize when it should be improved. So new iterations of systems and whatever. So I think that has been so helpful, especially in my current role, because online learning is so important and so specific and has such subtleties sometimes that people don't think about. So whether it's copyright or accessibility or just like getting the courses done so we can get new courses going, like it's just something that my need for systems and strategery, as I call it, it works. So it's been, and the same was true with the COVID thing, because that was every day we were changing the system because a new rule would come. So it's just sort of been the roles I've been in and the input I've been able to add. So just worked out.
So yeah, I mean, extreme structured, organized, yet there's a big
Flexible.
need for flexibility, especially COVID. Holy cow. So how did we get through that?
Yeah. And the other thing I'll say about COVID is, because I started 8 years ago in correctional ed, my office was downtown, so I never came to the main campus. And when I had to, I was so happy to be here because it's not the same as working in the
Right.
Chase Bank building or the Sutton Bank building. I needed, when COVID happened and nobody was on campus, but we were all on Zoom. Don't we miss Zoom? All on Zoom and communicating that way or over the phone, like really having to talk to each other. I got to build relationships with so many people across campus. I think about like Rick Ewing and Rob Poole and Dan McDonald and people that I'd never had any kind of relationship with before. And now it's nice if I need something or, I see something great, I feel more comfortable like saying, hey, Rob, I really enjoyed, last night's Greek lip sync, like whatever it is, so
Yeah.
it's really helped. That position and that time was so important for me as a human, both here and personally. Like I'm sorry that the world went through a pandemic, but I'm really grateful for the opportunities that I had and the blessings that I got so handed to me so visibly during that time.
Yeah, it was a crazy time and it changed everything, but definitely some positives came out of it.
Yeah.
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 Okay, great. Well, I'm going to pass the baton over to Dr. Andrew Roble, our Associate Director, and he's got a few questions for you.
Okay.
Hi, Elise, and thanks again for your time. Kind of continuing on in that vein of what you're enjoying and what you find fulfilling. You're in non-traditional learning and not just in it, but the executive director. Can you talk a little bit about how that is very meaningful for you?
So, I mean, I think one of the things that is always close to my heart is people who can't go a traditional route. So when I was here as a student, I was a special ed major. I worked briefly, and I think David mentioned it, in with adults with developmental disabilities, and I have a son with special needs. And so I feel like non-traditional learning is just another way, not that, it's for people with disabilities, but it's another way of doing college that works for people who can't take the traditional path for whatever reason. They're an older student. They really like our program but aren't close by, whatever the reason. And so I think that is one of the reasons why I work so hard to make sure that we're working with faculty to produce good courses. I think that anything that I can do in general, and this sort of goes beyond, well, this is still part of my work, but anything that I can do to be of service to faculty or to academic council or the provost to assist with the student experience is is meaningful, is how I want to help, because I have such a heart for this place and a heart for our students, whether they're here on campus or elsewhere, or including those who are incarcerated. I think that we, it's just it's so important to me to make sure that we're doing the very best we can for our students. So whatever that is, I'm going to do it.
Thank you. And just to offer some more perspective, as we know, anytime we deal with learning, whether it's traditional or non-traditional, we have challenges on both sides as faculty, as students. Can you give us some examples or talk to us about some challenges that we might not be aware of in the non-traditional learning environment?
Well, I think one of the obvious things is if you have adult learners, they often have jobs or kids or both and other responsibilities. So that's a challenge that we think about, or we should think about. So not that the expectations of the academic rigor should be adjusted, but that there should be some grace in our expectations. So remembering that extending the deadline to the very end of the day, 11:59 p.m., so that someone who has to work and then make dinner and then get their kids to bed can still have time to maybe finish their homework before they go to bed, and it's not going to be late. So there's little things like that I think are important, just little things that don't impact the academics of it or the curricular components, but just the gentleness, I guess, of how the course is presented. I think the other challenge is, and I know you guys will agree with me, the generative AI is tricky, because I know that we have some faculty who, when they're giving an exam now, make their students write in blue books and sit in the classroom. Well, you can't do that in an exam online because you're online. So how do we create learning opportunities that are AI resistant, or that, but I mean, it's to me a ethical issue or a moral issue. Like, how do we inspire students to not feel the need to cheat? Are we scaffolding courses correctly, so we're building on things, so we're not jumping too far into a topic before we make sure the foundation is set? And how do we just think strategically about ways to actually encourage learning? It's not about just getting through the course. It's creating engaging courses where students want to learn and want to engage with the instructor and each other, and can resist the urge to take the easy way out.
And I say, I think some of it is also just a lack of confidence or a crutch. It's such an easy go-to now, that people will just think like, oh, well, this is going to do it much better than I am going to be able to do it. So
yeah,
therefore, that's what happens.
Yeah, it's sad too to think about, like, what people aren't learning when they are using AI.
Continuing with that kind of flexibility you note that is necessary there, that seems like it would be a big factor of many of your other responsibilities because you collaborate across strategic planning, accreditation, and policy writing. So how is it that you're able to keep us consistently on the path to success, as well as being flexible and maybe allowing some innovations to come up and be tried out a little bit or experimented with?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's a delicate balance but it kind of goes back to what I talked about being like, I like a system and a process, but I'm also flexible. I think the same applies here. So there's always things going on and sort of competing, maybe not competing, but not necessarily complementary agendas or expectations. And so finding the balance is important. And I always try to err on the side of the student, or the most important person that I'm talking to. So the highest person on the totem pole. So because I'm a rule follower, it's easy for me to say, when we are working on courses or working on whatever we're working on, that you have to follow the laws. And so that's your content has to be cleared for, like, there's no copyright infringement. Your materials need to be accessible to diverse learners. The content in the course has to match the student learning outcomes, which match accreditation, which ties to the strategic plan. And so it all sort of fits together in a package, more or less. And so it's just about, I think it's just working together and sharing information. It's surprising to me at a campus our size, and I hope this doesn't sound unkind, but it's a surprise to me that at a campus our size, we have so many silos. And so our right hand doesn't know what our left hand is doing. And sometimes the right and left hand are doing the same thing. So twice we have two different of the same things happening, or we have a body of knowledge that would be important for another silo to know that never gets out of the silo that it's in. And so I always try to think about, if someone says, well, we have to do it this way, my first question is, show me the policy. Because over the years, as people have done their jobs, we maybe have gotten away from the policy, or maybe there isn't a policy and we need to come together to figure out how to make a policy that works for everyone. And so, I mean, I think the flexibility is in recognizing that we don't know everything, and that we have experts here and there and everywhere. And then if we can get those experts around the same table and come up with something that works for everyone, then again, it's back to the students who would benefit from that. So that's, I always feel like I'm the one, because, and that's the question that always gets me. If I say, what's the policy? And then there's some issue with the policy, like it hasn't been updated since the 90s, or we never had one to begin with. They're like, oh, work on that then. And so I become this
You just
person.
created work.
Yeah, I'm very good at creating work for myself, but I'm happy to do it because it gives everybody the same starting line and the same expectations. And so that consistent practice keeps from moving, keeps everybody sort of focused on where they need to be. So instead of having all of these like spirals everywhere, the line straightens out a little bit and we know what we need to do and how we need to do it. So I just bring order to chaos. One thing, and I just thought of this just now. One of my favorite chores at home is folding laundry. And I wonder if that's because it brings order to the chaos of the laundry basket. And so I think that's, like, if you think about, that'll sound obnoxious. So when I was a student here, my mentor was the vice president of student affairs, Sue Hyman, and she was here, I think, until 2016. So she was here a long time. She always said to find someone to fill your shoes. And I think that as a student, I did that. But as a professional working here, you can't really do that. But you can figure out what your legacy is. And it's not like legacy with a capital L. It's like your contribution, your little L legacy. And if my contribution is lining up some of the crooked lines, then I feel like I'll have done the university a service.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, good.
And that would have to apply greatly to this accessibility advancements and policies that are being formed and being maybe bolstered in some cases. Can you talk about their future in AU's continued journey?
About digital accessibility? Or
Yeah,
about
accessibility advancements and just the
Yeah.
policies that are popping up in light of everything that we're kind of forced to confront on a day by day, sometimes a minute by minute basis.
Yeah.
With these
Yeah, forced to confront is the perfect word for it, because accessibility has sort of flown under the radar for a long time for whatever reason. I assume it's because of a low number of people who actually require accommodations. But recently the laws are changing, and so and I think now, so here's how I've been trying to frame it. So we know that if a building is built now, it has to have an elevator. It has to be ADA compliant, right? So it has to, if there's stairs, there needs to be a ramp, like just like how we have the ramp now outside of the library that kind of goes up between Bixler and Clark Hall. That addressed an ADA issue. So we thought about the physical, and now we're working on the digital, and that's a heavy lift. It's not building an elevator, but it might be adding captions to your videos or transcript that you include below your video in an online course, or even a face-to-face course where you're sharing content on Blackboard. So the law is, and I will not do a great job of summarizing this, but there's a portion of section 504 in the Rehabilitation Act of 1998 or something, but it's been updated more recently, that's included in ADA. And it says that by a certain date, if you are a public university of a certain size, you have to be digitally accessible, period. Those are called Title II schools. We are a Title III school. We don't have that deadline. But because we accept funds from the government, so Pell Grants, faculty grants from like the Department of Health, like the different grants the nursing program gets, and other federal money, we are loosely bound, I'll say, to the deadline. And that deadline is April 26, 2027. Now, will we have everything accessible, digitally accessible by then? No, there's no way. I mean, the mountain of documents and digital components that we have to change is astronomical, but we can be showing our due diligence towards getting that way. And that's where the accessibility task force comes in. So we are doing, and Julie Donatini and I chair this task force, and we're looking at I call it the low hanging fruit. So what are the easiest things, the most noticeable things, or the things coming up the soonest that we could make accessible? And so it's just a matter of like chipping away at those things. And if we're building courses, so if you're building courses with my team, last spring, summer, fall, and this spring, so the last 4 semesters, your courses are accessible. They have to be, or the faculty member doesn't get paid to for the build of it. So that's the little incentive that we have. If you're working with the Student Accessibility Center, they're making sure that your materials are accessible. And so we have things moving. So it's just chipping away at it. And eventually, everything will be accessible. It'll be second nature. It'll be like ensuring we have an elevator in every building, I hope. And hopefully that happens in the next 5 to 10 years realistically. But, every time we're running a course, we should be looking at, and this is maybe the flag I should carry, but like if your course is running, make sure that your materials are accessible, because as we get through the rotation of courses, we'll be able to touch everyone.
I thought that the faculty college this year in January was excellent, and on this topic. And I will never use a PDF again. I never liked them anyway, and I thought that was actually the preferable format. And in fact, it's a nightmare for people using readers and things like that.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it'll be Word documents for me from now on,
Yeah, and Word documents are a challenge if you don't have a Windows-based computer. But I mean, maybe it's a Word document and a PDF that you share, but these are things we're going to have to figure out. But yeah, it was interesting. And to see a person with low vision or blindness, I'm not sure, whatever his needs were, work a screen reader, like I thought it was really amazing to hear first how fast the
oh my
speed
goodness.
is. Like
I was like, wow, I had no idea.
Excellent listeners, which makes sense. But I thought, I break so many rules. I didn't know that, like, using a table for, and I don't even know if we got into this, but if you're using a table for things that tables aren't made for, it's just decorative, doesn't make sense. So we have to let go of, and that is an adjustment for me, because I like things to look nice. So you have to sort of let go of your aesthetic expectations sometimes, and then just go for what works. But it really will benefit all students, because you never know when you like listen to a video over and over again and you just can't make out the words. So if you can go to the transcript or read the captions, it helps, it helps all of us. So it'll be a transition. It's a big deal, and an important deal, but we'll get through it.
So one last kind of follow up to that, and you brought up mountains. So climbing this mountain of first getting all the faculty together in a spot. If you could somehow get to that summit and you had to say these are 1, 2, or 3 skills that you need with technology, what would you tell faculty that they absolutely need?
Patience, courage, and willingness to learn. Because none of it is that difficult. It's just more stuff to add to our already full plates. But if we're thinking about our students and not being afraid to, change the style or change the font or change the format of our digital digital content, then we'll get there. So maybe grace. Can I take a fourth one? So I'm going to say patience, courage, willingness to learn, and grace. Grace will get you very far. This is what I'm learning. Just admit you're scared, admit you need help. All those admittings that grace gives us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Andrew. And so now we're going to pass the baton over to Sasha Bibik. She's one of our communication coaches here in the Writing and Communication Center. So, Sasha.
Yeah, hi. Thank you so much for coming here. So before we jump into your personal journey, I would like to start with the bigger picture, especially since education is evolving both online and hybrid formats. So what role do you think does instructional design play in fostering accessible and high-impact learning experiences?
Well, I think it's critical. One of the things that, and this again is like talking about relationships. One of the ways that I like to frame our contracted instructional design work. So when a faculty member works with an instructional designer to build a course, I try to talk about it as a partnership. And so we lean on the faculty person to provide the curricular content and expertise, but then we lean on the instructional designer to help with all the other stuff. And the other stuff is the equitable, accessible, high impact is a combination maybe of both the curricular content mixed with however the instructional designer puts together the curricular information to make it engaging. So I also think it's the ability to provide a consistent product if the course is the product. So if you're taking I'll use English since you're the Writing and Communication Center. So if you're taking, I know it's all, you help in all subjects, but English is easier for me because I remember more course numbers in order. So if you're taking English 101 online and you get to English 203 online, they kind of look the same. The content is different, but the feel is the same. So you can take out the need for wayfinding. So if you get into the course, you don't have to waste time like where can I find a syllabus? Where can I find the work that I'm supposed to do in each module? If everything's laid out in a similar fashion, then you can focus more on the learning and the engaging. And so I think instructional design is really helpful in that because it minimizes the non-academic needs that people have. Mm-hmm. The other thing is I mean, because we're always checking for accessibility and copyright, it also takes the burden of liability off of the university, because if we can do that, then that's one less thing that, like the provost or the president or our legal people have to worry about. I think,
yeah.
No, go ahead.
I would say that I agree. It's easier as a student to just be on Blackboard if the setup is the same and it's easily accessible and you can figure out everything on your own.
Right. So one of the things that I wish, and I hope this doesn't come off sounding ugly. I wish that when we're in the partnerships, when they're paired with, when our instructional designers are paired with faculty, that they allow each other to be the experts. So and maybe that's not a wish, that's an expectation. So even if people who have been designing their own courses online suddenly are working with us, they say, well, I don't do it that way. I want our instructional designers to feel empowered to say, well, I appreciate that, but think about it from this perspective. We want students to go in and know where to go. And so hopefully then that helps build the relationship and that partnership, and also it benefits students. Because like I will say until my head falls off, like for me, it's always about how to serve students. And for me, that's to make sure that I'm supporting the faculty in whatever ways I need to or can to make sure that the student experience is meaningful. The president has also said that he wants our online courses to be academically excellent. And so as we're working towards that academic excellence, that's sort of my fallback. Is the decision that you're making about this course or these courses going to reflect something that is academically excellent? If it's not, we've got to try again.
Yeah, thank you for bringing up such great points. And now I want to connect that back to your early experiences. So you began your career working in student engagement, and then later you directed programs that serve individuals with developmental and intellectual disabilities. So how have those early roles shaped your commitment to inclusivity and educational access?
So, I mean, it goes back further than that. When I was in, I think, junior high, I started, and I don't remember what got me into this, but I started volunteering at, back then it was called the Pennsylvania Association for Retarded Citizens. They'd never call it that today, but I think it's just called the ARC now. But they would do dances and other activities for adults with special needs, and I loved it. And then my first job was at a camp for I think they were all ages, like kids all the way through adulthood. It was a summer camp for special needs, for people with special needs. And then I worked at group homes when I was in college for adults with special needs. And then I was a special ed major, and came here and did that, and then decided in my senior year, I don't want to be a teacher. I don't want to, like, there's too much paperwork in being a special ed teacher. I just, like the IEPs and all the things. And so what am I going to do? And again, my mentor was like, what about student affairs? And I didn't even know what student affairs was when I chose my major, because nobody knows going into college what student affairs means. At least I didn't. And so I switched to higher ed, and then got my master's and did all the things. And then when I had life kind of bit me in the butt, and I thought, I can't keep these late hours and be a single mom. So I've got to do something else that keeps me at home more. And so that's how I found, like, managing group homes. So then I started managing group homes. And then I thought, this is no better, because there's emergencies in the middle of the night, and I'm still a single mom with little kids at home. So this isn't working. I got to figure out. So that's sort of what led me here. The second time, or the first, when I came back in 2017. But all way back to junior high is where I started thinking about inclusivity and accessibility and educational access. I mean, and I didn't even mention, I think I mentioned before, I have a special needs son. And so when he was younger, I would take the draft of the IEP that they gave me and just tear it apart and rewrite the goals and say, like, you write those goals for every kid, but this is my kid and this is what he needs. And so it's the childhood and the interest that started way back then, coupled with my college experience where the accent on the individual was always the focus. The people that the staff and faculty that I surrounded myself with, and also then my friends, accent on the individual was like their way. They're just how they lived. And that landed on me. And so I'm thinking about, I truly want to think about every student and every student's needs when I'm working. So I think it's all a combination of everything kind of melding together and becoming just my thought process. So it's the least of these, it's a biblical thing also. I think that we're thinking about the least of these and everyone in between.
Yeah, that truly shows through your work. And to follow the last question up, I am also curious, as a current student, are there any words of advice that you would give students to help them make the most out of their educational journey, especially since we studied online and now we keep studying online and sometimes in hybrid environments too?
Yeah, so I think it's easier for me to think about advice to students who have a more traditional path, because that's what I knew the best. It's only in the last 4 or 5 years that I've been working with in the online space. But I'll tell you, so I'm going to give you 2 answers. For the online learners, I think one of the things that I would always recommend is to dig into that Start Here module in the courses, because those, not to get too technical, and it's really not, but when IT creates the blank courses every semester, so like your English 101 course has nothing in it until the person teaching it or someone puts the English content in it. It's just an empty shell, except it has the Start Here module automatically. In that Start Here module is the content that my team checks and creates and modifies every semester. So it's up to date, and it has information about campus resources and policies and what to do, like technical support, all kinds of resources, the Career Center for Life Calling, other places that online students can utilize, resources on campus they can utilize that I'm not sure everybody realizes is there. So looking in that Start Here module for those resources, I think, is a great thing to do at least once a semester. And also, on the institution page, that main page that you land on when you go into Blackboard, there's all kinds of resources in there too about the library and about, different orientations to Blackboard and helping support the online learning process. And I just think they're oftentimes overlooked, but we put them there with the intention to support people. And we change them all the time based on feedback from people who are using them. So I think there's lots of good stuff there. And also to take advantage of campus events. I think, even if you're an online student, you should feel at home on campus. So come and do things, come and check out things, eat in combo, and do those kinds of things if it's logistically possible, if you live close by. But for traditional students, one of the things, when I worked at Ohio State, one of the things that I had the pleasure of doing every summer, about 8 times every summer, was to give my little spiel about what I think everyone should do when they get to college. And I feel like it's worth repeating, even though it's outside of my current job. College, if you are a traditional student, college is a unique time where you have the freedom to explore things, try different things, make mistakes, and become the person or work towards the person that you will become as an adult. So with that in mind, I think you should do everything. I don't know if there's still 100 student organizations on this campus, but there used to be. So join every organization, or at least go to a meeting for every organization that sounds interesting. You're not only looking for opportunities that you enjoy, but you're also looking for your people. So do everything. And then as you get into it, start doing more of less things. So you're dropping the quantity, but you're increasing the quality of your, did I say that right? Dropping the quantity, increasing the quality and capacity in the different organizations that you're in. Remember that your tuition pays our salaries. So we work for you. And so if you need something that you don't see, ask somebody. If you feel like something could be better, or you see something unsafe, tell somebody. We wouldn't be here without students. So I think it's really important that students remember that as they're working hard in their classes, because that's why you're here. But also, you're building us an experience. Like, these years are so fun and so important, and you'll never get them back. And you'll make a mistake that instead of going to a police station, you go to a judicial hearing. It's not quite as bad. So there's a little more freedom in that. I'll tell you that when I started college in 1995, I was shy and scared, and my mom told me that I'd be back in Western Pennsylvania Labor Day, that I wouldn't make it here. I don't know if she told me that. She told everybody else that. And I thought, nope, I'm not doing that. And so I just joined, and I joined everything. I started doing things and did things I never thought I would ever buy my friends. And then my junior year, I was elected president of my sorority. So and these people 30 years later are still my closest friends. And so I think Ashland is well suited to be a place where everyone can find their people, but you can only do that if you do things. So do everything and then get rid of what you don't like.
Yeah, I agree with that too. With that, you can make so many friends in Ashland, and then you should use your student time to figure out who you want to be, and then develop your community and see who you like, who you don't like. And following up on your point that you said that we shape, as students, we shape who we will be as adults. If you hadn't gone into your higher education leadership, what career do you think you would have chosen instead?
I think that changes every couple years. I think, though, it would definitely be with somehow serving people who are underrepresented. So probably working with the County Board of Developmental Disabilities, or, somehow overseeing the work of people who are helping people, because that has become something that's very important to me. So sometimes I think I want to be big, rich, and famous, and like make lots of money, but that's really not me. That would help me with some of the stuff I need, but not with my heart. So my spirit needs to help people.
Yeah, that's
Ideally,
nice.
you're a philanthropist, right? You've got
There you go.
you have all the money in the world, and then you get to do with it what you want to help people, right?
That's going to be my new answer.
There you
Thanks.
go. Andrew Carnegie, that's who you want to be.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
White char.
Okay, and to finish up, we have a fun little question. So what is a fun fact about yourself that not many people at Ashland University know?
So I was going to take the easy way out and say, my grandfather went here, and he was on the board of trustees, and I had when I graduated, he actually handed me my diploma on stage. But I feel like I say that a lot. And so if you do get like a gazillion listeners, I feel like I should say something that's not Ashland related. I, in the 90s, in the early 90s, I was a ranked junior tennis player in Pennsylvania. I was pretty good back in the day.
Impressive.
Who knew?
Now,
Now everyone.
Yeah, now everyone knows. Now I go on a tennis court, I'm like, when did this course get so big? Like, I feel like I'm so slow now that I can't get to the balls like I used to, and I just say the court must have doubled in size over the years. So.
Right. Well, that's great. Yeah. Okay, well, we're gonna wrap things up here, but thanks so much for joining us, Elise. It was great to hear your insights and just all about all of your valuable experiences that are bringing so much to this campus. So I'd like to thank you, and I'd like to thank Andrew and Sasha, and we'll see you next time on the WoW podcast.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for tuning in to the WoW podcast, where curiosity meets inspiration. Brought to you by the Writing and Communication Center at Ashland University.